Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, the middle class is amongst the people hit hardest by the new taxation policy. On the one hand, the tax on their income is on the increase and thereby their income is decreased. And on the other hand, articles of consumption are being subjected to forces which raise their prices. In these circumstances, it will be very difficult for these classes to balance their budget, and the question of their saving anything and their investing their savings for purposes of common good is very problematic. Sir, the middle classes, as is well known, are the backbone of the society. They are the real workers of the land, and they should not be disabled or made vitally less enthusiastic by these measures in contributing towards the success of the plan. The indirect taxes have really got an inflationary tendency. To a complaint made in this respect, the Honorable Finance Minister said that the inflationary tendencies are already there and that the government through these excise duties will be able to mop up a portion of the extra profits for the benefit of the exchequer, and he implied that these excise duties need not raise the prices. In many cases, the inflationary tendencies are due to the play of market forces and the prices will go up to a maximum that can be borne by the consumer. Sir, he seems to have a very tender heart for the inflationary tendency, but I do not know whether the inflationary tendency has got any compunction or consideration for the ability or the inability of the consumer to bear the prices that those tendencies may put up. In certain other cases, he admits that the excise duties to raise the prices, and in such cases, excise duties are designed to restrain consumption, either to bring about internal investment or to increase exports. In certain cases, I admit that higher prices may restrain and restrict consumption. For example, if the price of sugar is raised, people may consume less sugar. That is a known fact, but it does not stop there. In such cases, human nature must be taken into consideration. It is a matter of common knowledge that if sugar is beyond the reach of the people, they do not stop there. They take to other alternative articles. They go in for gur or such other things, and therefore no savings is affected thereby. Sir, then take the private sector. Increased targets have been set up in the second 5-year plan for this sector, and they have to fulfill those targets in the vital interests of the country, because the development in the private sector forms a vital part of the economy of the country as a whole. But the question is, under the present proposals of taxation and the conditions that will be created by giving effect to those proposals, how is this sector to find its resources for realizing the increased targets that have been set for it? Everyone, the common man, the middle class person and the upper class man, has to bear heavier burdens under the new taxation policy. The government want to mop up extra profits. They are increasing taxes on income, and they cut even into the corpus of the capital through such taxes as thus on wealth and expenditure, thereby reducing the wealth already formed through the savings of the people. Under the circumstances, one wonders how the private sector is to find its resources for enabling it to realize the targets set for them. I do not know whether the finance minister has said anything explicit or clear on this matter. If the targets of the private sector are not fulfilled, that will create a grievous gap in the development of the country. What I think is we must frame our plan mainly basing it on our internal resources and work that plan. Side by side with that, we may have another set of projects and schemes which may be executed as and when we get sufficient foreign exchange and foreign aid. Otherwise, what will happen is, if we are not clear cut in this matter of keeping internal resources mainly separate from the foreign aid and foreign exchange, we will be landed in difficulties in the middle of the execution of the plan. Then it will be very difficult for the country to get back from the midstream. then if we set about to find foreign aid and exchange, the position of the country will have to be compromised in many directions, and that is not good for the country. Now I want to deal with one or two concrete points which may bring in a sizable amount of foreign exchange to the country. One point is with regard to the export of raw goat skins. An export duty on the export of this article may be levied beneficially to the industry as well as to the country as a whole. There was an export duty of about 15% on this article. Sir, food problem has been the greatest worry of our life during the last 10 years, and unfortunately efforts for its solution seem always to have gone away. In the present state of price index, the imposition of excise duties or their increase on essential commodities has an adverse effect on the common man. Poor taxpayers talk to the income tax evasion to the extent of several hundred crores of rupees, and they say that if the Income Tax Act were strictly and honestly administered, there would have been no need of increasing the burdens of the people of low income groups and of raising excise duties on articles which are more the needs of the poor men than of the rich classes. The common man has, however, been found to be a passive victim of the taxation policy of the government. Others express their grievances in 101 different ways and demand their redress. They lodge their protests on the slightest pretext to have their burdens made lighter, but the poor taxpayer takes every encroachment on his already depleted household budget without any fuss. And there is no denying the fact that indirect taxation has been increasing year by year and has been causing a great hardship to the families of low income groups. Moreover, sir, excise duties rope in all the people, good, bad, or indifferent. By this I mean to say that whether the people have been benefited by the plan outlay of about rupees 900 crores a year or not, whether they have remained unaffected by the development schemes, or whether their finances have worsened as a result of any such schemes, all have to pay the duty imposed along with the middleman's profit, whatever he may be disposed to charge. The Honorable Minister is said to have stated that the effect of his taxation proposals on the common man would be very marginal, and the trader's present margin of profit should absorb much of the increase. He is said to have made a similar statement on another occasion also, but I am sorry to say that this is contrary to what actually happens. Most traders will not only pass on the whole of the tax to the consumer, but will also raise the prices sufficiently high so as to make additional profits in the bargain, which they will make. It will therefore be well for the Honorable Minister to take from the very beginning all necessary steps to prevent traders from exploiting the consumers. A directive should be sent round right now and sufficient publicity given to it so that the ignorant masses may not be asked to pay more than the correct prices. The prices are already soaring high at the ceiling level, and effective steps should be taken to check further rise, lest the whole structure of economy should be taken to the core. In addition to the fair price shops for food grains, there should be fair price shops for other articles of merchandise, also like cloth, etc., so as to stabilize prices and have them pegged at a reasonable level. It should, however, be noted that when taxation proposals are looked at in context of the second 5-year plan, they relate a different story. It is found that they are intended to impose an austere living on the people so as to save more for the plan. It is said that excise duties have been directed towards limiting consumption of the lower middle classes and the masses more as a measure to check inflation rather than for the purpose of augmenting revenue. The Honorable Minister once stated that the duty on sugar had been deliberately raised because he wanted consumption to go down, or rather not to increase. He said, "I would like to freeze it at more or less the present level, unless it be that as income goes up in certain sectors, they want to pay the price." The finance ministers anxiety to freeze the consumption in the absence of sufficient quantities of consumer goods to go round that section of the people whose purchasing power is increasing as a result of the plan outlay of about rupees 900 crores a year is quite understandable. Our administrative machinery is not sufficiently competent and efficient for complete control, and unless the production of consumer goods is commensurate with the investment in the country, the inflationary pressure will persist and prices will rise. When the mills and factories which are being established in the earlier years of the plan go into production, there will be plenty of consumer goods to absorb the surplus money in the hands of the people, and the need of price control by means of the imposition of excise duties will come to an end. It is hoped that the minister will reduce these duties at that time. As for the implementation of the plan, nothing extraordinary had happened to make us feel nervous about the fulfillment of the targets. Full stop, over.